Khair inshallah. So today will be from the hadith book. And the next class now will be from the book of fiqh. It will be a book where I'll select. Very simple, basic beginner's book. Khair inshallah. طيب, the author Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, rahimahullah, he says, narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, whenever you stand towards the salah, whenever you intend to pray, then perfect your wudu. Then face the qibla. Then say Allahu Akbar. Then read whatever you have the ability to read and recite from the Quran. Then make ruku', bow down until you become at ease and at rest in ruku'. Then come up from ruku' until you stand straight. Then make sujood, go into prostration until you feel at ease and at rest in your sujood. Then come out of sujood until you feel at rest while sitting. Then prostrate until you feel at rest in your prostration. Then do all of this in every prayer that you make. Then do this in your entire prayer. The hadith is collected by the 7, and the wording belongs to Al-Bukhari. There's another version of Ibn Majah with a chain of narration of Imam Muslim that says, until you are still and at rest while standing. Once again, we'll read the hadith again. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا قمت إلى الصلاة فأسبغ الوضوء ثم استقبل القبلة فكبر ثم اقرأ ما تيسر معك من القرآن ثم اركع حتى تطمئن راكعا ثم ارفع حتى تعتدل قائما ثم اسجد حتى تطمئن ساجدا ثم ارفع حتى تطمئن جالسا ثم اسجد حتى تطمئن ساجدا ثم افعل ذلك في صلاتك كلها. أخرجه السبعة ولفظ البخاري ولابن ماجه بإسناد مسلم حتى تطمئن قائما. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whenever you intend to stand and offer prayer, then perfect your wudu, then face the qibla, then say Allahu Akbar, then recite that which you have the ability to recite from the Quran, then bow down until you feel at ease and at rest in your ruku', then come out of your ruku' until you stand straight, then prostrate until you are at ease and at rest in your sujood, then come out of your sujood until you are at rest in sitting, then offer sujood once again and become in a state of tranquility and become at rest. Then do all of this in all of your prayers. The hadith is collected by the 7. The wording belongs to Al-Bukhari. There's another version of Ibn Majah with a chain of Imam Muslim until you feel at rest whilst standing. Khair inshallah. This hadith is totally authentic hadith. It's agreed upon by Al-Bukhari and Muslim, and it's collected by many others. One of the main benefits that we can get from this hadith, firstly, is what? Is a description of the prayer. A general outline of the salah. And this hadith in brief is the hadith which is known as what? It is the hadith of al-musi salatahu, of the one who prayed bad or badly or poorly, the one who did not offer the salah in the correct manner. We know that a man came into the masjid and he gave salams to the Prophet and his companions, and he offered prayer. And then when he finished his prayer, the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, "Irji' fasalli fa innaka lam tusalli." He said, go back and offer prayer again because you didn't pray. So he did it a second time, and the same thing the Prophet ﷺ said to him, and the third time, until the point he says, وَالَّذِي بَعَثَكَ بِالْحَقِّ لَا أُحْسِنُ غَيْرَ هَذَا فَعَلِّمْنِي. He says, I swear by the one who sent you with the truth, O Allah. He swear, the one who sent you with the truth, O Messenger of Allah. I don't know, I can't do anything better than this, so please teach me. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, this hadith. When you intend to make salat, then do this, and do that, and do this, and do that. The man offered the salah, and he did it in a very poor manner. He did not perfect the prayer. He did not offer it correctly. So the Prophet ﷺ, he told him that you did not pray. He didn't say you prayed bad, no, he said you did pray. So go back and do it again. They closed and he said you did. This shows us the importance of learning the salah. Sifat the salah. That maybe you may not even have a prayer if you don't know how to pray correctly. You may think that you're praying correctly, but it may not be actual prayer. Well, the Prophet says, go back and pray because you did not pray 3 times. And the man said, I can't do better. I can't do anything better. So the Prophet ﷺ told him this. And this, in brief, ikhwan, is one of the sciences of hadith, which is called ilmu asbab wurud al-hadith. The science of the stories behind the hadith. Just as we have the science of the Quran. Why this verse was sent down, why that verse was sent down, this story, this companion, this battle, this military expedition, the man divorced his wife, the man did this, the woman she did that, the Prophet ﷺ, he said this, and Allah sent down the verse. Right? We all understand this? And we know that those reasons help us understand the verse. When we know why the verse was sent down, it helps us to understand what the verse means and intends. Similarly, or just, this is the same case of the hadith. When we know the story behind that hadith, then it aids us in understanding what is intended by the hadith. Because if you just read this hadith, and then if you don't know the Prophet ﷺ said this to a man who prayed 3 times, you can't get the full benefit. Is this not the case?
No.
He said this to a specific person for a specific reason. So this aids us. If you don't know sifat al-salah, the way the Prophet ﷺ prayed, pay close attention. Not Imam Fulan or Sheikh Fulan. Okay? This is muhim jiddan. Not Imam Fulan and Sheikh Fulan. If you don't know how Muhammad ibn Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam offered the prayer, you may not have prayer. And if you don't have any prayer, then may Allah help you on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Naam? Tayyib. Khairan, inshallah. So this is why this hadith was reported, okay? The man, he prayed, he did a poor job, the Prophet, he said this to them. So let's deal with the first point. Follow Mustafa.
What page is that in the book?
Bulugh al-Maram, which version do you have? My page, I have 73. This is a very old copy. I don't know if it'll match up.
I have
That's
61.
the Salam.
I have 61.
Yeah, this is
This is what is Babu Salah. Like it's what is Salah.
77. It's called 77.
The marriage of prayer.
Tayyib. Fadl.
Mustafa.
So we know that this man was doing the physical movements.
He prayed.
It was equivalent to him like missing it.
The Prophet said he didn't pray.
It's like you missed it. You didn't pray at all. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. How deep it is. Like
Nah.
you get like a visual of it. You're moving, but you didn't even pray.
Exactly.
You that off, just not saying that all, but it's like you.
So this shows us, Ikhwan, that
Scary, man.
one of the most important points of this is that the condition of the deed being accepted is that it has to be done according to the sunnah of the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. No matter how much you tire yourself and exhaust yourself, if it's not according to the way of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's not going to be accepted by Allah. Okay? Alright, now let's do the first one of the hadith. Now we're talking about sifatul salah. So this hadith is a basic skeleton of the salah. Okay? A basic blueprint outline of the prayer. Now, this hadith you must understand. The first point is the hadith is totally authentic. The second point is an extremely important hadith. This is one of the cornerstones of this entire chapter. When we talk about sifatul salah and the books of fiqh, this is one of the most important texts because it gives us a good outline of the prayer. Okay, now we want to keep it simple. Firstly, in this hadith, we find the obligation. إِذَا قُمْتَ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ. We find, not the obligation, but we find from the way of offering prayer is to do what? To stand. That's the first point. Then he says, فَأَسْبِغِ الْوُضُوء. He says, and perfect your wudu. So in this hadith, that which is apparent is that perfecting wudu is what? Wajib. Wajib. Tayyib. Now, is wudu, perfecting the wudu? There's 2 types of perfecting wudu. One perfection is perfecting the bare necessities of it. That's wajib. And another type of perfecting wudu is doing it 3 times, going extra past the elbow, above the ankle, to the shin, using the miswak, saying bismillah, saying the dua afterwards, so on and so forth. That's a different type of perfection of wudu, which we know is highly recommended. But this hadith, it proves that perfecting wudu is what?
Wajib.
Wajib. As we explained last night. Because he says, فَأَصْبِرْ. He commanded him. He commanded him. The third point. He says, then face the qibla. We benefit from this hadith that facing the qibla in the salah is what?
It's wajib.
It's wajib. It's obligatory. Khairan. So we see this hadith is a very rich hadith. It's a wholesome hadith. It gives us a description of prayer, and it also gives us things which are considered to be shurut, conditions of
شروط
salah.
الصلاة.
واضح?
نعم.
Even though that's not the topic of our class, and even though to establish something which is obligatory and to establish something which is a prerequisite is different grounds. Okay? For something to be a prerequisite and for something to be obligatory is different, it's totally different mannerism. Okay? An example of a text that clearly proves that something is a prerequisite. Okay? We could say here, لا يقبل الله صلاة أحدكم إذا أحدث حتى يتوضأ. Hadith says Allah will not accept the prayer of one of you when he breaks his wudu until he makes wudu. That's clear that wudu purification is a prerequisite. Naam?
نعم.
Then we have another text in which Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran he says, Ya bani Adam, khudhu zinatakum inda kulli masjid. Allah says in Surah Al-A'raf, the 7th chapter of the Quran, O sons of Adam, cover yourselves, adorn yourselves when you offer the prayer. Okay? That verse clearly shows that covering yourself in the salah is what? Wajib. Some scholars, they say that that verse proves that covering yourself in the salah is a prerequisite. That the salah is invalid unless you cover yourself.
No.
They differ over that. Because it doesn't say in the verse that there is no prayer. Allah does not accept the prayer. Make the prayer again. It just tells you to do something. Now we have another hadith that says, لا يقبل الله صلاة حائض إلا بخمار. Allah does not accept the prayer of a woman who's reached the age of mincing unless she wears a khimar. That hadith clearly stipulates that covering is a no, not a pillar, a prerequisite, a shart, a condition. You understand the difference?
Yeah.
Okay. If I say to you, come in on a job interview, okay, and I say, bring me your high school degree, okay, or a GED. Or if I say to you, you cannot get this job, you will not be hired unless you have either a high school diploma or degree, whatever you want to call it, or a GED. Is there a difference in the two statements?
Yes.
No.
There's a big difference. The first one, I'm requesting you to bring it, but I never mentioned that it is a stipulate. You can't get the job.
Right.
It's a difference. Okay? Now, let's go back a little bit, and let's make sure that we understand things very clearly. When it comes to the salah and other acts of worship, we have several pieces. Okay? We have one piece, or one component, which is called a shart, a condition or a prerequisite. Right? Then we have that which is called a rukin, a pillar of the salah. Then we have that which is called a wajib, an obligation of the salah. Then we have that which is called sunan, or sunnah, a recommended act of salah. Then we have that which is called makruhat, things which are disliked in the salah. And then we have mufsidat or mubtilat, things which nullify and render your salah null and void. Going back, we have condition. We have condition. Everyone stay with me. Stay with me. Depends are not important right now. Pay attention. We have condition. Then we have obligation. And we have condition, Then we have pillar. Then we have obligation. Then we have recommended act, disliked act, something which nullifies your salah. Wadah? Pillar. No. Condition. Pillar. Obligation. Recommended. Disliked. Nullifier. Invalidator. Wadah?
No.
Okay. The topic of our class is to know what is the sifat to salah. How to pray. But we cannot clearly understand that unless we have a general idea of the things that come before the actual description. Wadah? Everybody understand? Alright, now the question is, what do you, this question is for Shukri. When we talk about description of the Prophet's prayer, what do you think the description of the Prophet's prayer is closest to? Prerequisites, pillars, obligations, or recommended? So on and so forth. Prerequisite. What do you think, Abu Bakr?
Prayer?
فهمت السؤال?
لا.
You understand the question?
لا.
طيب. لماذا أجبت? Why did you start answering if you didn't understand the question? لابد تفهم السؤال.
That's why
جيد.
that's-
بدأت في الجواب.
نعم.
صحيح؟
نعم
You
شايف.
started to answer the question, right?
نعم.
Just a little bit. معلش حبيبي.
إن شاء الله.
خليك معي طيب؟
نعم طيب.
طيب. صفة الصلاة أقرب إلى الأركان أو الواجبات أو المكروهات أو المبطلات إلى آخره. What's صفة الصلاة as closest to what? What do you think?
واجبات.
واجبات.
Mhm.
He said prerequisites. What do you think, Abu Zaid?
I'll do what I can do Arkan.
Arkan, the pillars, the thing which holds the salat up. Yani the arkan are considered like the body parts of the prayer. The actual flesh and bones of the salat is the arkan. Let's make an example of this. What is an example? What is one of the prerequisites of the salat, according to what you know? Purification, to be pure. Jamil. Okay? Do you make purification in the middle of the prayer? Sent. You make it when? Before you have to keep that purification. So that before you get the job, you have to provide your GED. That is a prerequisite for the job. But that isn't the job. That's not the job description. واضح? واضح? That's not the job description. That's the job prerequisite for the interview. واضح? Now, give me an example of something that you do inside your salat. Anything. Sujood. Asenta. Make sujood. Making sujood is a what? Is a pillar. Meaning it is one of the bones. It's one of the body parts of salah. It's inside of the salah. Right? So therefore, it will go back to the one of the prayer. No, it asenta the sifa. If that thing is inside of the prayer, then it has to be a description of the prayer. Well, if we say, describe the Prophet's prayer to me. He did this, he did this, he did this, and he did that. Of course, there's no doubt that you're going to talk about the what?
Description.
The pillars. Because the pillars, that's the pieces of the salah. Aywa. So the seat of the salah is closest to the pillars. Now, the things that he did also include obligations and recommended acts. And so on and so forth. But the first thing is the actual pillars. The flesh and bone of the prayer. How to pray outwardly. Did he say this? Did he say that? All of the companions, they didn't hear everything. They weren't with him all of the time. But that one companion, he saw the Prophet at least do the what? The pillars. All that? Right, Shukri? He saw him stand. He saw him make ruku'. He saw him make sujood, even though he was way behind the other companions. He may not have been on the front row like Abu Bakr that saw his mouth moving and heard him recite this surah and that surah and pointing his finger. But he knew that the Prophet sat down. Well, Abu Bakr?
No.
So therefore, the description of the prayer is closest to the
pillars.
The pillars. Well,
No.
everybody got the point?
Yeah.
Everybody got the point?
No.
Clear? 100%. Everyone. Well, Abdulain, got it? This is extremely important right here. It's extremely important to understand this. So, this hadith, as you can clearly see, it speaks about some things which are pillars and some things which are description of the prayer. Yeah, and the pillars is a big circle, and inside that circle is the description of the prayer. It's two circles inside of each other. We have a large circle, the description of the prayer. Inside of that are the pillars, prerequisites, obligations, recommended acts, so on and so forth. Well, clear? Okay, fine. Now, back to the next part of the hadith. He then says, فَكَبِّرْ. So say Allahu Akbar. This part of the hadith proves the obligation of? It proves the obligation of doing this?
Saying Allah Akbar.
Abu Bakr.
Saying Allah Akbar.
Does it prove the obligation of this?
No.
Mafi, it doesn't say that.
No.
It may be in another text, but here it does not say that. Right here,
No.
you have to train yourself to understand what's in front of you and to use what's in front of you. Okay, one of the widespread mistakes, many people, when they sit with the sheikh, when they sit with the student in class, whatever the person's level is, they bring things from outside. Okay, you should stick with what's given to you. Well,
No.
and some people, you made something that you believe to be correct, and it may be correct, it could be correct, but that's not what he just gave to you. Well,
No.
and that's how you benefit from a person. And then you yourself, you implement what you feel to be the truth. But you collect and you take. واضح?
No.
واضح? And it becomes very confusing when you mix things up. You can make any example. Martial arts, boxing, anything. You mix different trainers' techniques. He tells you to do this and you do that. It's going to be a problem. Is this not the case? Any boxing? Right, huh? Right? It's a different... Everybody got the point?
No.
So Abu Bakr, you have to train yourself to do this.
Inshallah.
You give exactly what's given to you.
Inshallah.
So the hadith proves the obligation of making what, Abu Bakr?
Saying Allahu
Of saying
Akbar.
Allah Akbar. Of saying Allah Akbar. The next point. He says, then recite which you have the ability to recite from the Quran. This hadith proves the obligation of
Recite the Quran.
reciting the Quran. Reciting the Fatiha.
لا. Recite the Quran.
Fatiha.
لا.
Surah Al-Ikhlas.
No, anything.
Ahsan. The hadith says from the Quran.
General.
The center. The Fatiha and the other things come later on. And there's a major issue of difference of opinion amongst the ulama. In this hadith, he told him to recite what, Yahya?
Whatever you know from the
Ahsan.
Quran.
Whatever you know from the Quran. Next point. He says, then make ruku' until you become at ease and tranquil in your ruku'. The hadith, this part proves the obligation of
Making ruku'.
ruku'. And the obligation of
Tranquility.
center. Being at ease, tuma'nina in the salah. The next point. He says, thumma rfa', then come up. Stand up. Erect yourself from ruku'. It shows the obligation of
Standing up. After ruku'.
yeah, and coming out of ruku'. Wadah?
No.
Next point. He says here, hatta ta'tadila, until you are straight. It shows the obligation of standing
Straight.
in the prayer. Then he says, thum masjud, then prostrate. The obligation of
Making sujood.
making sujood. Hatta tatma'inna sajidan, until you are at rest in your sujood. The obligation of
Tranquility.
So this hadith is the first thing you would bring someone if you saw someone praying like this, going up and down, fast and forth. Not the book of this shaykh, you would bring this hadith. You understand?
No.
You understand? But especially if someone that doesn't know what you know. Someone who hasn't been blessed with what you've been blessed with. Someone who comes from a different country or a different culture. Someone who has a misunderstanding or years of ignorance and blind following of culture and forefathers. You're not going to bring it from day one, the book of Shaykh Al-Albani, rahimahullah. Who's Al-Albani? What is this book? They told me to stay away from Al-Albani. Right?
No.
But if you bring him Kalam of Muhammad sallallahu perhaps, and then everybody get the point?
No.
Well, there's a big issue in da'wah that you have to look at who you're calling. Everyone isn't on the same level. Everyone doesn't believe what you know and what Allah has blessed you with. Thank Allah Azza wa Jalla. Thank Allah for blessing you with things. Many Muslims don't have a clue of what you may have heard in a class or lecture. Who? What? This? I never knew of Sahih Bukhari. Wallahi. Hey, raise your hand if you ever made Hajj before. No one ever made Hajj in this room? Like, if you make Hajj, you are going to meet all kinds of Muslims. Without any exaggeration, from every single walk of life. From every country, every age, you are mixed with millions of Muslims from all over. Some Muslims don't have a clue about anything. So if you want to call them to the haqq and call them to the sunnah, what is the first thing you should bring them? You should bring them something which is something that's agreed upon, a general premise. Not something that's later on that is different. This is the kalam of your prophet. That you have to be and still in your sujood. You have to relax in your sujood. Not, well, this sheikh, and we heard in this class, because he's first of all, who is this person? He may have been taught not to follow this. He's a Wahhabi. He's this, he's that. This is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's kalam. Everybody get the point?
No.
This is important. This is from Basira, having insight in da'wah. Is knowing who to call, how to call. Well, now, the next point he says here, then he says, mentioning the sujood again, he then says, if'al dhalika. He says, do this in all of your salah. This part of the hadith proves the obligation of doing all of the things in every single
Salat.
rak'ah. Every rak'ah and every salah. That there's no difference between janazah, Jumu'ah, Eid, Witr, Dhuhr, Asr, Asanta.
You didn't rise.
Wadah? Now the other text, the other explanation, that's one thing. But in this hadith, he says, Fi salatika. Everybody get the point? You're sick, You're traveling, a woman, a man, to do everything in this hadith. Everybody got the point now?
No.
Well, inshallah, hopefully you can taste some of the sweetness of fiqh sunnah. It's a sweet subject. And you see how the knowledge is broken down. And in degrees and it varies. And you can see how confused and mixed up and jumbled up you become when you just throw knowledge together. With yourself, let alone present it to someone else. Okay, you have to separate the different types, the different texts. This hadith says obligation. This hadith says recommendation. This opinion, and so on and so forth. Wadah? Now, the hadith is collected by the seven. What's meant by the seven is Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Ibn Majah, and Imam
Hakim.
Imam Ahmad or Imam Malik?
No.
Imam Ahmad.
No.
How do you know Imam Ahmad or Imam Malik? How do you know, Mahdi? Abu Nasir? How do you know?
I just remember.
That's what you remember. Did you read the introduction to Bulugh al-Maram? Ever?
Yeah, I have. I forgot it though.
So you got the information from the introduction?
No.
Good. Mustafa, قرأت المقدمة?
I just figured that Imam Ahmad,
You just figured it.
yeah, because Imam Malik,
Uh,
in his book, he was like that.
Tayyib. What year did Imam Malik die in? Anyone know? Ikhwan, when we say Manhaj al-Salaf, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Ahlul Hadith, how are we going to follow people we don't know who they were? Abdul Alim. Huh?
300.
Ah, right.
What country was Imam Malik from?
Medina.
Hijaz.
He's from Hijaz. Hijaz, Medina. He lived in Medina.
No.
So what century did he die in?
Second.
Second. He died in the second. So that means Imam Malik was a what?
Atabi.
A tabi'i?
Atabi.
Tabi'i. He was a student
Of
of the
Atabi.
students of the companions. Ahsanta. He was a man who met people who met companions. Such as who? Huh? He is from the Salaf al-Salih. There you are. No, the third. The third. Companions, their followers, and their followers. Alright? Imam Malik died in what year, Abu Bakr? What country do you come from?
Senegal.
Senegal. The most popular madhab in Senegal is what?
Maliki.
Maliki. I know that. I have classmates from Senegal. But I'm setting you up now again. Right? So from your country, the most popular madhab and imam there is Imam Malik.
No.
Kayf la? You have to know something about Imam Malik. He died in the 2nd century. He lived in Hijaz. But Imam Malik was from the greatest of the ulama of hadith and fiqh and aqidah. Imam Malik was from the mountains of knowledge. Now, Imam Malik, what year did Imam Ahmad die in? Or what century?
The 3rd century.
So he came after Malik.
No.
So if anybody should be that last one, it should be who?
No.
It is something which is very unfortunate. Yani, the Muwatta of Imam Malik is very unfortunate. It gets no importance.
Mhm.
No emphasis is ever placed on Muwatta. Right or wrong?
No.
Bukhari, Muslim, maybe Sunan Abu Dawud, people know here about Bulugh al-Maram, that's it. Muwatta Malik, it's sad.
No.
And this is from the earliest, not the first, but from the earliest books of hadith that was compiled and put together in that manner, organized, and the majority, the overwhelming majority of the hadith in the Muwatta Malik are sahih. It's one of the most authentic books of hadith. Most of the hadith in the Muwatta Malik, that's where Imam Bukhari and Muslim and Abu Dawud and Fulan, that's where they got them from. That's why if you go back to the original Sahih Bukhari, you find Imam al-Bukhari narrating from Abdullah ibn Yusuf. Abdullah ibn Yusuf al-Tunisi, who narrates directly from Malik, from Zuhri, from Anas, from Ishaq ibn Abi Talha, from Fulan, and so on and so forth. From Hisham ibn Urwa, from Aisha. Hisham ibn Urwa from his father, from Aisha. That's from the most authentic chains of narration, the Isnad of Malik. Imam Malik only took from people that were fiqh. 9 out of 10 of his shuyukh were all trustworthy. There's no liars and major innovators and super weak people in Muwatta. It's from the cleanest and most authentic books of hadith, and it's so sad that it's given no attention. The mullah that is the most disrespect to Imam Malik. Is this not the case? Please, Abu Zayd, pass me the Muwatta from the bookshelf. You have it?
Okay, get it.
Point proven, Tariq?
You going fast for that.
Point proven. Go to another masjid, same thing. Riyadh al-Salihin, and these are good books. Imam Nawawi died in the 7th century. This book, Aqidah Wasitiyya, Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, Sheikh Al-Albani, were great scholars. But Imam Malik was from the Salaf al-Salih. And his book, there were other books of hadith that were bigger and larger than Imam Malik. But his book survived. And it surpassed the time. And it came exactly to this day in several different narrations. That is a shame that the Muwatta of Imam Malik is something just forgotten about. So we ask Allah to make it easy for us being in that one day to have a portion of reviving it. Inshallah. Now, Tayyib. The 7th person, the point I'm trying to make, Mustafa and Mahdi, I'm going off the subject once again, which I said I wasn't going to do. The point is that al-talib al-ilm, when you want to study a book, you should read the introduction to the book. You should read the introduction to a book. I had a teacher in the College of Hadith, and he's my supervisor for my master's thesis, Sheikh Abu Bakr Abdul Samad Ali Abid, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, was from the most elderly of the Mashaykh in Medina, who taught and educated several Mashaykh that we look up to and take from. He taught them in Hadith. This man, he was speaking to us one day. This was when I was in Kuliya, college, bachelor's, yani. He was just talking about some of the stories of Sheikh Muqbil, Rahimahullah, Sheikh Rabi', some of the other Mashaykh that are well known in Hadith and so on and so forth. So he was just telling us stories. So he said, he was, someone came to him and came to his library, and they said, "MashaAllah, you have so many books in your house. Did you read every single book?" He said, "Nah." He said, "I read I read all these books." He said, "How? Cave? Tell you?" He said, he says, "It's not a book that I buy, except that I read the introduction to the book, and I read the table of contents." So in actuality, he knows exactly. You see the point? And it's something that I admire a lot. And if you try to practice, the point is what Abu Bakr is that when you get a book, before you study, you should read the introduction. Because a lot of things, the author speaks and explains himself. You don't have to guess who the 7 are if you read the introduction. Everybody got the point?
No.
واضح? Abu Bakr, أنت معي?
No.
طالب العلم. Now someone who just has information and a student of knowledge. A student of knowledge, you should always read the introduction and look into the table of contents. Know what's in the book. Khairan, inshallah.
Sure.
Now, let's go back. Okay, so everybody got the things with the hadith proofs now. In brief, the scholars of hadith, or the scholars of fiqh, the ulama of Islam in general, some of them say that everything that was mentioned in this hadith is a pillar of the salah. One view. Everything that's mentioned in this hadith is a pillar of the salah. And anything that was not mentioned in this hadith is not a pillar or it isn't obligatory. Everybody understand that? Others say, rather, the Prophet ﷺ, he only told this man to do the things in which he erred. The mistakes that he made, that's the thing that the Prophet ﷺ told him to do, to fix. There's a big difference between the two views. A word of difference. We'll go back once again. Some say that this hadith here are the arkan of the salah. Khalas. And anything that's not mentioned in the hadith is not a pillar of the prayer. Because the Prophet clearly told that man, you did not pray, do A, B, C, D, E, and that's it. And others, they argue and say, no. The Prophet ﷺ only told that man to do the things which he clearly failed to do or to perform. واضح طارق? واضح? واضح? This is, I don't know when to be shy. واضح? Clear? واضح? واضح كالشمس. We're going to make a test. After we finish the chapter, we're going to see the sun. We'll see how the sun will rise. He says clear as the sun. High noon, huh? We'll see. The test will show high noon, huh? So what was the second statement? The second statement is that the Prophet only taught him, he only instructed him to do things that he made a mistake in. It's a big difference. Now, moving on. Let's digest the hadith one more time. Okay. Let's make a column. of conditions. And before you know, we don't want to get too technical, and we don't want to go too deep into ikhtilaf, but don't think that all of the ulama are in agreement of the numbers of conditions and the arkan. No. 7, all of the ulama don't say 7. 14 pillars, 13, all of them don't say that. But that's one opinion and one madhab. But we're not going to get technical. We're going to keep it simple, right, Shubli? Keep it simple. But give a little benefit on the side. Okay. What pillars, according to what you read and studied, can you take from this hadith? Pillars. Fadl. Qiyam, standing, number 1. Number 2, ruku'. Number 3, sujood.
Recite the Quran.
Jalsa, sitting down. Jalsa bayna sajdatayn. Or julus bayna sajdatayn. Sitting between the 2 sujood. Naam. According to what you study. This is your turn. You're giving it to me. That's 4.
Recite the Quran.
Recite the Quran. That's a pillar of salah. You study that. Reciting the Quran is a pillar of salah.
Okay.
Pillar. La bas. If that's what you have, I'm going to make sure.
No.
Tayyib. That's 5. Number 6.
Your niyyah.
Your niyyah.
Intention.
Niyyah.
It's not mentioned, but you gotta come to it.
No.
A niyyah. You study that that's a pillar of salah.
Yeah.
No.
No, I can't say that. Sir.
What book did you read that in?
No. I
It's
can't
at
say
home.
that.
What's the name of the book?
I was just guessing.
That the niyyah is a pillar of the prayer. Pay
Nah,
attention to the question.
I take that back.
Yeah.
Niyyah. A pillar or an obligation?
Obligation.
Fadl.
I'm going over another pillar.
Fadl.
Qibla.
Facing the qibla. A pillar or prerequisite?
Pillar.
Pillar. Tayyib. Fadl. Anyone else? Khushu'. Pillar. If you study that, لا بأس. جيبه. ما في مشكلة.
لا خشوع يعني.
الخشوع ركن من أركان الصلاة.
لا.
طيب. تفضل. Saying Allah Akbar. That's a pillar or a specific type of Allah Akbar. Takbir is a pillar of salah. To say Allah Akbar is a pillar. Intabi.
To be properly dressed.
Intabi. I'm saying be.
Specific.
Aywa.
The same.
Did you read in a book? And this is the point that we're trying to get more of just the class. We're trying to develop ourselves to study properly. Did you read in the book here in the lecture that saying Allahu Akbar is a pillar in the salah or saying the first Allahu Akbar? There's a big difference. Like night and day. And your salah being valid or invalid. Like night and day. The first one is called Takbiratul Ihram. That is not the same takbir as coming out of the ruku and going back down. It's a difference.
Yeah, that's what I mean. First
Ahsan. It's a difference. Khair. Okay, anything else? This is very important. It's extremely important. Fadal.
The area has to be clean.
The area has to be clean. Where did you get that from the hadith, Abdul Ali?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's something. Anything else, Mahdi? Abdurrahim? Coming up. Ar-raf'u min ar-ruku'. How many? We have 7 so far.
And the comfort.
Tuma'nina, ahsanta. Something that no one mentioned is to be tranquil, to be at ease.
I said comfort.
Farq kabir. Farq kabir. لا. Khushu' and tuma'nina are not the same thing. Yani, it could be a general similarity, but there is a difference. The general similarity is that when you offer the salah, you say Allah Akbar. Okay? You put your hands here, or here, or here, or here. That's a different issue. The reason why I said that is because they're recording it. They say, oh, he didn't put his hands on his chest, so that's a long issue of ikhtilaf amongst the ulama. Where should you place your hands? Al-Muhim is when you pray, you offer the prayer. You should be at ease. You should be mutma'in. And that's also similar to khushu'. But now we're talking about being mutma'in in every position. A farq. It's a farq. It's a big difference. We'll leave that because it's going to take us off the subject matter. Anything else? For the pillars of Islam, for the pillars of Salah in this hadith. Sujood. Okay, who can be a volunteer? Come to the front of the Musalla and give us a general description of the Prophet's prayer based off of this hadith only. Pay close attention. Based off of this hadith only. Fadal, come on. Based off of this hadith only.
I want to be correct. Alright, I just want to be correct. So, I ain't embarrassed about being wrong.
Pay attention. Everyone pay attention closely.
Allahu Akbar. Allah.
What you brothers think?
He said another Allahu Akbar.
I know I made a mistake.
He said another Allahu Akbar.
He said two Allahu Akbar.
The hadith says how many?
One.
Just one.
Yeah,
So you start.
Would you like me to?
Right. Right. Anything else? Anybody else have something? Right or left? Right. Abdul Shakur says he did it, raised his hands, put his hands on his right hand. Please, Abdul Shakur, show us in the hadith where it says put your hands or raise them or put them on your chest. Does it say that in this hadith? In this hadith it says that? In this hadith. Maybe in another hadith. But in this hadith it doesn't say that.
Nah.
It didn't say that. Anything else? Anybody else? Talk.
He didn't stand up.
He didn't stand up.
After he was finished.
After he was finished with such, it says in the hadith to be at
stand and then finish to the end.
Father, Abdul Shakur, what we want to do is, right, hold on.
I said after you.
You say, when we say prayers, you see me pray this.
For him.
Rasulullah.
Sorry, Salah.
That's another hadith.
Right, Abdul Shakur, me and you. It's me and you talking. Everyone in, they jumping on you. I know you know those brothers, they have personal, they have records with you that I don't know about. They have their own personal account with you. So hey, right, y'all here? Not just money, but just, you know Abdul Shakur, the time he bust on you, got you. It's me and you, okay? Right. Now, the Prophet ﷺ raising his hands, did he raise them with his palms facing the Qibla? Did he raise them like this? Did he touch his ears, his shoulders? All of those details. Did he put his right hand on his left on right? On his palms, wrists, forearm, elbows, chest, torso, whatever you want to call it, above the navel, beneath the navel? All of those details, they're fine. But they're not mentioned in this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, pray as you see me pray. Everything that he did in his prayer, we should do. And from that which he did in the prayer was raise his hands. No problem. But in this hadith, we're trying to train you to take the knowledge that's given to you and implement it. And steps and in stages. Well, only in this hadith. There's somebody that want to come later on. And then we get into the fiqh book when we explain it. It's going to be a little different than how the hadith is laid out first without the dalil. Like hadith in general, I think he did an excellent job. MashaAllah. He did pretty much. He said you weren't. Nah, Abu Zayd, you know you're going to be in serious trouble now. Yeah, you are.
I was.
La. He says that he wasn't mutma'in. He wasn't at rest. He wasn't tranquil in his salat. Like, that point you can argue with. Now, Abu Zayd, you are requested. You bring us what is tuma'nina. To be firm and to be at ease.
To your body, rest firmly located.
My body's rested first.
I need He says, Abu Nasreen, he says what? To be firm and at ease in every position. جميل ما في مشكلة. طيب كلام طيب. ما الدليل على هذا? What's the proof for that from the Sunnah? That explanation. That is what being at ease and at rest is.
Not from this hadith.
You see the ditch? No, خلي any hadith. He dug himself a ditch, Ibrahim. Right? Father. Pass him the shovel.
Some rope.
You did it. Yeah, you did it.
Some rope. Don't
Fahim?
come out.
If you say that he didn't make tuma'nina, he wasn't at ease, he wasn't at rest. Who said that what you say is right and what he says is right, except for the dalil? So let's ask the question. Maybe he has something. Do you have a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says in Sahih Bukhari, tuma'nina kada wa kada wa kada?
لا.
ما عندك فمن أين جئت هذا؟ يعني من رأسك أم من جيبك أم من شيخك أم من كتابك؟
يعني من شيخ إن شاء الله.
من شيخك.
كان الشيخ الألباني يعني قال
الشيخ الألباني.
إذا شخص رفع يعني.
طيب الشيخ الألباني رحمه الله ورضي عنه. طيب. So you're saying that he's wrong based off what Sheikh Albani said?
لا.
إلا.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Right, Tariq? He did.
Thing in reverse. Come on,
I'm not saying what he said is wrong. But everyone see the point?
Yeah.
Is that when you make inkar on someone, when you say this wrong, or this is right, this is bid'ah, this is sunnah, he's a sunni, he's salafi, he's khalafi, he's this, he's that, I'm this and that, you must have daleel. Not from a sheikh. You mean on the kitab, from the book, the authentic sunnah, and the ijma'. It's something that we want to keep reiterating over and over again. This has to be firmly rooted in our hearts. Kitab, sunnah, ijma'. واضح? Kitab, sunnah, ijma'. طيب? Everybody, this is very important. We say it, we shake our hands, but when it comes to the tatbiq, it's a word of difference. Abu Zayd, Khalik Mai, I warned you. And I warned you, right? I said you dug your ditch. Would you? So he says he wasn't tranquil. And he says the meaning of tranquility is when every bone, or when you're firm and at rest in every position. And that's the kalam of Sheikh Al-Albani, may Allah have mercy upon him. And reward him well on behalf of Islam and the Sunnah. I mean, Tayyib, you say no. You agree with that, or you do agree with it? That interpretation, do you agree with it?
No.
You don't? Okay. Do you agree that you were still?
Yeah, I agree that if the messenger would have told me that's what I would have did.
Tayyib. So now, what's the proof now? What is Tuma'nina?
Messenger told the man. Didn't.
Huh? I thought one madhab may say that you can count to 3. That's Tuma'nina. One madhab say that you just have to do the position and go to the next one. That's it. We need some dalil to see whose madhab is most correct. And if there is no clear, direct dalil, then we use that which seems rational. That which seems what? Rational. Okay? Don't misunderstand us when we say the dalil or those 3 things, that we don't use anything else. Strictly. If there's a statement of a scholar that doesn't go against the Quran or the Sunnah, there's no direct, clear proof of it, it seems to go with the Quran and Sunnah, we take it. It's not saying that we don't ever take the opinion or view of this scholar, this imam. No. But that's the dalil. Everything else comes secondarily. All there?
No.
Wait, so your homework is, Abu Zayd and Hanif, is to research the issue. I'm not saying is there a hadith, there's not a hadith, Sheikh Albani, this one. Research the issue. Go back to the sources that you have and find out, is there a hadith that states that what Tuma'nina is? Wadah?
No.
And try to find the statements of the other scholars. That's outside of the class.
Oh, but in reference to the Western name,
And the hadith doesn't say what is Tuma'nina.
he was directly.
He says, be tranquil. So let me ask you guys a question. If we had no other hadith, what would we explain tranquility with, Abdul Rahim? What would we say? What's the closest interpretation?
Then I would say that I had to go to the ulama.
La, we want just off of this hadith.
So based on the hadith,
Aywa. Huh?
Whatever that person is tranquil.
What a person feels is tranquil.
Because it is stating word in the English translation to remain in that position for a moment.
What's a moment?
Yeah, that's a moment.
I consider a second a moment.
Yeah.
And you can literally pray in a second and
But
Take your time.
but if you go to the original cause of the hadith, as Waqur, he told the man.
The
so I
man-
guess you would indicate from there that the man was actually being a little bit hasty from what's prevented.
Kayf,
You don't know what his hasty was though.
La, I gotta listen. If you can tell me the narration that says that the man prayed fast. Now, Abu Zayd is not that far. That was just apparent.
That was apparent.
That was his law is that he prayed very, speedily. He was rushing. That's apparent, right, Monty? That's apparent. But can you be decisive and say for
He
sure?
didn't say that he played.
Because you don't know if he made Ruku or not.
I sent. But that was just apparent is that he's right. So therefore, how about we go back to what? We could say, all right, and we're going to stop here on this issue. When Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, وَعَبُدُ اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إلى آخر الآية. In Surah An-Nisa, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, worship Allah and associate none with Him as partners in worship. Okay? And be good to your parents. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ Be good to your two parents. How or what is considered being good to your parents? Respect. Does that say that in the Quran?
No.
In that verse in Surah An-Nisa?
This verse, no.
There's a hadith that clarifies that, which a man was asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which of my two parents of those have the most garnered the most respect? The Messenger of Allah says,
Your mother?
your mother, your mother,
Aywa?
your mother, your mother, then your father.
Jameel. So where's the explanation of that respect though?
The explanation.
That's the point. Where is it at?
There's another eye.
Like, which is what? Fadl. You ready?
Yeah,
Your hand on the shovel again. This is good though.
Well,
We want Abu Zayd to dig 1,000.
Yeah.
طيب طيب إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما
أف ولا تنهرهما
عنهما
وقل لهما
قولا كريما.
كريما
واصل
واخفض لهما
جناح الذل من
من
رحمتي.
رحمتي وقل رب
أحسنت.
ارحمهما
Surah Al-Isra,
يعني صغيرة.
طيب, the 17th chapter of the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions in the verse of the what? What's the name of that verse?
It's called this
I'll let you off the hook for the rest of the night if you tell me the name of that verse.
No, this verse
It's
mentions
called-
Kitab al-Tawheed is the ayat of the 10 instructions or the 18th instructions. What am I getting a little bit lost?
Make review. You're
Yeah,
close,
make review.
but you're still a little
18, but
sway your dust, right? Thought just a little, just polish, a little polish.
Get him.
I'm says he hasn't challenged. Now, play it.
I'm a little fuzzy on the 10th
Jameel,
but 18th.
Jameel. Ikhwan, the point I'm trying to make is what? And is that the only respect and benevolence to your mother?
لا.
La, it's another verse, but no, la.
It's not. Okay? I have my mother. I'm not going to say oof to her. I don't even speak oof. Right? Let's say a person says that's not my language, that word. So I can curse her out, call her any type of name, as long as I don't say oof. Someone may say that. Tayyib, I'll say a noble word to her. I'll make dua when they reach old age. But when they're young, I'll disrespect them.
Like Allah said,
Because
وَصَاحِبُهُمَا
خلي حبة حبة, point by point. The first one, it says إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما. Allah says if one of them or both of them reach old age with you. So does that mean you can disrespect them when they're younger?
لا.
Someone may say the verse says old age. Right, Shugri? So he says, I'm just going to do what's in that verse. And in the other verse, وَصَاحِبَهُمَا طيب. Give them, treat them honorably. Jameel. That's all I'm going to do with my mother. She says take out the trash, I'm not taking out the trash. طيب. If she says buy me something from the store, no, I'm not buying because it's not said in the Quran. Allah told me to treat you kindly, and that's all I know from kindness. Is this accepted?
لا.
Why not? So what do we return to in understanding what kind treatment of your parent is?
The sunnah.
Sunnah. Does the sunnah speaking about buying your mother a rose? Taking out the trash? Buying her groceries?
Tell you how to
It doesn't.
Generous.
It means obey them in everything that doesn't go in opposition to the
That's
commandments.
clear. That's text. We want something that's not mentioned in there. Fadl Tariq.
I guess we will be honorable or dishonorable in your own.
أحسنت هذا هو أحسن العرف هذا هو هذا هو واضح؟ ما شاء الله, he saved you. You're gonna buy him a drink later. You're gonna buy a drink, inshallah. Right here? He saves you. Al-urf, the custom of the people. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, be kind to your neighbor. The Prophet says, be kind to your neighbor. Say something positive. It's not mentioning everything A to Z. So that was just customary. You open the door for her. If it's, a puddle, you take off your jacket, put it down, whatever the case may be. You do things in your custom, as long as it doesn't go against the Quran and the Sunnah. If it's my custom to bow down to my mother, maybe somewhere in Japan or China, you can't do that. You cannot show that type of respect to your mother. But anything else that's not against the Quran and Sunnah in China, such as you have to carry your mother, for example. Let's say in Japan, you have to carry your mother on your back when you take her to the store. And she wants you to do that, you have to do that. Because in that custom, that's considered ihsan, respect and benevolence. Everybody got the point? Everybody got the point? As long as it doesn't go against the Kitab and the Sunnah. Okay? In the African American culture, it's respect to your mother to do what?
Give her some money.
Give her some money. There you go. I said, but there's no hadith specifically mentioned that you have to give this amount of money at this time. Everybody get the point? The only problem if that culture would be to give her money to do something illegal. Well, something that goes against the Kitab and Sunnah. And this is one of, brothers, al-qawaid al-kulliyah. Al-qawaid al-fiqhiyah al-kubra al-khams. One of the 5 major principles of fiqh. One of the 5 major principles of fiqh is what? Al-adatu muhakkama. The custom is predominant and takes precedence. The custom it takes rulings over other things. When something is mentioned generally in the Quran or Sunnah,